Good morning, everyone, to our 8th day of Parent Awareness Challenge. Today with us, we have Anna Seewald, who is a parent coach and child psychologist. Hi, Anna.
Hi.
We're so excited to have you here. A little bit about Anna. She is a child psychologist and parent coach. She has worked with children and parents for many years. And Anna, maybe you can add to it. I know you have worked with children, different types of children. Maybe you can expand on that so our audience knows your background.
Sure, yes. Well, I worked with, like you said, over 18 years, nearly 20 with children in different education settings. I also taught. I worked in a correctional facility for juvenile delinquents for many years. I worked with gifted children in a gifted academy. I worked with children with autism.
Wow.
I also taught in a college. I worked with adolescents for many years, ninth graders. It's a diverse background in teaching as a psychologist. So I know children very well.
Yes. And you have helped many parents, be better parents. So hopefully today, a lot of our parents can have some of the questions, because we have some questions that parents have asked, answered, so one of the things I know that you are, you enforce strongly is about values. If you have your values clear in your head as a parent, and if you know inside what are the values that's important to your family, and it's a baseline to discipline your child, or to sort of figure out that what is okay to do and what you are going to be, a little bit lenient towards. So how do you help, like for some parents, if they are confused of how to decide what values are important to me, how can you help them in getting started? Like, what do you think they should do?
Well, the first thing would be obviously to sit down with your partner, right? Your parenting partner. That would be ideal. And to think about your values and beliefs. What is important to you? What do you want to instill in your children, and why, right? You may have, let's say healthy eating is a big value in your household because of various reasons. Maybe you struggled with weight loss, weight gain, or some health issues. Now you moved into this healthy eating area, and that's a value. So how do you instill that value in your household, right? Okay. Talk with the husband and do an exercise. It's very simple. So I speak with them, and I also ask them to write them down, because once you write down it, you think about it, you reflect upon, and it becomes, you have a list. And then you can go back and refine that list. You can narrow it down. You start very broad. It helps you, this exercise, to come into understanding of what is important to you in parenting. Screen time, for example, is a huge topic among many families. Right. And since this technology exploded into our lives, we don't know what's right, what's wrong, how much TV is allowed, how much is not allowed. One parent may say, I grew up watching TV and it's okay to let my child watch TV the whole day. And the other parent may say, no, I'm completely opposed to that view. So every parent has their own set of values. They may not know that, right? But we need to tap into that and become clear. So write them down, think about it, share with your partner. And oftentimes when couples come to me, I give them this exercise. They find interesting things, because the husband's list is completely different than the wife's list. And sometimes there is conflict that they never talked about. It could be related to religious education, for example. Particularly in one family, it came out. Even though they were both from the same religious background, this particular couple, mom was very passionate about giving Sunday weekend education, religious education, sending her children to religious school to study their specific religion. And the husband was like, I don't care. I don't need this. I grew up with religious upbringing, and I'm opposed to that. And I don't want my children going to, getting this education. So this was the first time they voiced their opinions, and there was a clash. So how do you, first define your own set of values, husband and wife or partners, and then try to see what are our common values, our common goals also, because parenting is not a random thing. It's a very serious job that we have, and we need to have set of values, principles that guide us. Also, we need to have some kind of goals, because it's a teamwork, right? Husband and wife. I'm not saying you have to agree on everything that you do as a parent, but basic principles, basic values, you need to share. And you may parent differently, or discipline differently, but if you're parenting from the same principles, from the same value, that's what matters the most. You know what I mean?
That's interesting, because in our household, healthy eating is one of the values, but another value is value-based learning classes. So my son goes to Sunday classes at the temple every Sunday, and yesterday was Sunday, and had to go to the class. But there is Halloween going on, and Halloween celebrations, they kind of start like this whole week. And we had a Halloween trunk or treat going on in our community. We thought that it was at 2:30, the classes started at 3:30, but turned out we were there at 2:30 and no one was there. Actually, the trunk or treat started at 4. So he would miss it because he'd had to go to classes. And he was so upset. And now these are our values. And he was just so upset. And this is something where we always tell him, you got to go to the value-based education. That is important. It teaches you how to be respectful. It teaches you how to stand up for yourself. It teaches you to believe in yourself. You have to go. We would not budge to that. Yesterday, now how would you, I will tell you what we did yesterday, but I wanted to understand how would you have handled such a situation? How would you recommend a parent would handle such a situation? So, because yesterday it was a difficult situation for us, because it was his emotional needs of wanting to be there. And this is where like emotional empowerment comes in, versus our values of him having to go to the classes. So do you think sometimes the emotional needs are important? Like,
Well, the emotional needs are always important. They're at the top of the list, I say. But, you can't make your children force, even though this is a value, but it's not a value for him. He doesn't understand yet, right? But sometimes that doesn't mean, if you have set of values, it doesn't mean you have to be so rigid and stuck to your thing, right? You can be flexible. I mean, given this situation right here, if he's going 95% of the time to this value class every Sunday, and one day is a Halloween weekend and there is parade or special celebration, that's okay to make that exception and say, you know what, it's fun. I can let my child go to this Halloween party and maybe participate in the value class, half the class, since it started at 2 and Halloween party starts at 4. Make some kind of adjustment when it comes to parenting our children. Values doesn't mean you have to be so strict about it and say, no, this is a value. Then you'll be stuck in your own crazy patterns. Let's say healthy eating is a value in my household, but my husband also appreciates that, right? Let's say he takes my daughter to a drive-through fast food place a couple of times a year. That's not a big deal, right? The main thing is we're instilling the value most of the time and we're living this healthy life. But once in a while, that's okay. Right. So we need to be flexible in our values and how we communicate them. And that's what's important. Flexibility, I think, is key in this particular.
That's exactly what we did. We felt that he really, really, really wanted to go, and he does go to Sunday classes. So we let him skip. There was no way to go for a little bit and then come back, so we let him skip yesterday. But I did
That's
have a talk with him saying that that doesn't mean you're going to skip every Sunday. You really want to go this time, so I'm going to let you go because
Mhm.
I love you. But starting next Sunday, we are going back to the Sunday class.
That's
Um,
great, right? Yes.
yeah, and it worked out quite well. He was like, okay, mommy. He was excited because I listened to him now. I have a feeling that I will have better cooperation coming next Sunday.
Yeah, because you showed respect for his respect for whatever he wanted in that moment. You know, you collaborated together. It's not always stubbornly saying, no, this is a value for us, we have to stick to this, you know, but just given the circumstance and the situation, you can make a better decision in that moment, which you did in that case.
Yes,
And
yes.
no one is there to tell you, no, you did wrong or you did right. If it feels right to you, right, then it's the right decision.
Yeah, yeah. So that's great. That's great to know that values don't have to be like, you need to be honest. You need to be, it has to be, it's more concrete. It could be more like, what do you want your child to do to help him be honest or be good person or be healthy? So like healthy eating, maybe the Sunday classes, maybe sports, so he's healthy.
Yes.
You know, that those are the and his homework, like, you know, he has to do this has to be done, this much studying has to be done, like those, like how much you know, those are concrete. So these are like 4 values. And what do you recommend as far as the number of values that you should focus on? If you have like too many versus too little, like what is a good number?
Well, I don't know what's a good number, to tell you the truth. I mean, you don't, when I say values, I mean general guiding principles, you know, and also as a person who you are, you already live those values, right? This is how you live your life. It's not like you didn't have values. Now you're going to sit down and say, I'm going to adapt those specific values. As a person, we all have our set of values. That's how we live our life. But with this exercise, we sort of have this insider's look. We think about it a little more, and you want to narrow it down. You know, you don't want to go too crazy. You don't want to. You can have a large list. You know, it's an exercise really to make you clarify your ideas and how you parent and from which place you're coming to parenting. It doesn't, and your values can change over time. It doesn't mean you created this list, you put it on your refrigerator, that's it for the rest of your life. You know, we grow, we evolve, our thinking changes, and our values may change one day too. So be flexible, know yourself, and what values have been guiding you throughout your life. Your parents passed down some values onto you. They didn't do it purposefully, right? They didn't say, we're going to teach you this specific value. And there was no lesson or anything. They just lived the life. They walked the talk, and you internalize those values.
That's right.
In my case, I can tell you, I love senior citizens. They have a soft spot in my heart. I live in high-rise building. There is lots of elderly people, and I have tremendous, that's the way I am. I live my life like that. And my daughter adapted the same value. She has respect for senior citizens. She opens the door because she observes how I am. I didn't tell her, you know what, it's important, blah, 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 to do this with senior citizens. We need to help them. No, I never even had a talk with her. It's just the way I behave. I am in real life. Same comes to, for me, for example, environment is important too. Well, you can have big values like environment, respecting senior citizens, you know, those kind of big concepts, but you can also have small values, right? More like healthy eating, fitness, those kind of doable things that you need to take action. So, I mean, it's up to you, this exercise. Environment is a big one for me. I want my daughter to be, you know, eco-conscious. So when we go grocery shopping, we bring our bags, we recycle properly. You know, we talk about it. We say why we shouldn't brush our teeth and let the water run and run. We need to conserve the water because it's, you know, it's a resource. We need to.
You're very right, because we do the same things. And yes, the values are ingrained and you see in us. And I like the exercise of writing it down, because a lot of times you just do this without realizing it. And writing it down is an added level of awareness as far as why are you doing this? Why is it important to you? And so I really like that. And you'd also talked about, like, you know, as going back, where we talked about how emotional awareness is like on the top of the list. And just like writing down your values, sort of is tapping into that emotional reasons maybe of why is it important. You know, it could be because it's doing these good things, but it's also helping you in an emotional level. So I just wanted to, can you tell our parents why emotional needs of a child, their own emotional, why is it important?
Oh man, of course it's important. We all have emotional needs. If we don't meet the emotional needs, we're rejecting the child, right? Children have a basic need for respect, a basic need for acceptance, belonging, importance. They need to express their feelings. That there are all these important emotional needs, and if we devalue them, then we reject a child. It's emotional needs are important. We need to learn to recognize them, to help our children to express their needs, and we need to meet their emotional needs. And needs and wants are different. If your child is in a store and says, I want this dolly, I want this toy, it's a want, that's not the need. So emotional needs are different than those wants. So we need to distinguish. And we all have emotional needs too. It feels good when our needs are met, right? When someone meets our emotional need for connection, intimacy, then we are a more fulfilled and a whole person. We feel,
and
yes.
You know what, like when you talk about emotional needs and feeling good, I feel that our children are a lot more in tune with their emotional needs than we are sometimes. And I say that because we did this emotional awareness classes, and I did it with children 9 to 12 years old. And my son is 7 years old. And one of the exercises that we did is trying to figure out the physicality, like where in your body do you feel the anger or the happiness, etc. And I asked my son one day, like when I had the question of how do I feel in my body when I feel angry? I had to think about it. I had to really live through the anger again. I asked my son, oh, sweetheart, where do you feel angry? And he goes right away in my head. And I'm like, wow. and I was talking to the kids, and I did it with the kids 9 to 12 years of age. We did online emotional self-awareness classes. And those kids were also able to say it. But when I did it with older kids, they had to think about it.
Yeah.
So it's amazing how our kids are so in tune, and for us, it's very important for us to be in tune so we can help them.
First, yes, that's the big step. You need to be in tune with your own inner world as a parent, as a person. I often give exercises to parents I made a list of different emotions, and like on a weekly basis, track your emotions, how many per day you felt, and how, what were your triggers, body sensations, how do you feel? It's hard for many of us because life is very busy. We go zoom through life, through our day without even understanding. We don't pay attention to our inner world. But it is connecting to ourselves, we will be able to connect to our children. Right. And once we learn to connect to them, it's important to meet their emotional needs, because then they attune to other people's emotional needs. They are more empathetic. Right. What they receive, they reflect to the world. The way we treat our children, that's how they treat themselves, us, and other people. So it's important. If you give respect to your child, if you show empathy, if you use effective communication instead of using harsh language and shutting your children down, you listen to them, then they will be like that towards other people. They will be more sympathetic, more empathetic, and they will internalize those values.
So we have some viewers who have joined also, some parents have joined, and there are some questions related to that. Okay. I wanted to just quickly close this emotional self-awareness. we also, I know parents can work with Anna to be more aware and more in tune about their emotional needs. We also offer emotional self-awareness classes for children and parents alike. They're online real time. So you can go to www.leadwithgood.com/parenting workshop for more details. I want to ask some of the questions that parents have asked. And one of the questions is, how do you feel about homeschooling? Like, what do you think of homeschooling a child?
That's great. If you can do it, that's wonderful. I have strong feelings about formal education. So in some ways I am opposed to formal education. So yeah, if the parent, that's a value for the parent, go for it. It's amazing if you can do it. It's not easy. It's you know, I'm not going to go into all the details, but if you can do it, that's wonderful. Find support for yourself. There's lots of resources out there. That's great.
Okay.
That's the short answer. So.
So, I mean, homeschooling itself is a lot of kids, at least here in the US, I know a lot of parents do it, and their children are doing just as well, as long as you have the right resources to do that. Does it affect social skills?
No, it doesn't. It's not like you have to send your child to school with 22 other kids. It's like this forced artificial environment your child goes into, right? Your child didn't choose these people to be around. I mean, I can give you a whole lecture about this. And your child is striving to get along with everyone because you have to be friendly with everyone at school. It's not real world. In real world, we don't go into a place where we never socialize in big groups like that in real life, right? As adults. You may work in a big company, but you never part of that. You don't have to coexist times. So I think it's just an artificial environment. Social skills, children have social skills, that they are with you, they live in a family, you have friends, people, you live in a world where there's people. Unless you're isolated from real world, then you can worry about social skills. If it's only you, your child, living in an island where you see nobody, then worry about social skills. But if you live in a modern world, you go places, you meet people, you don't have to specifically focus on social skills. You know, your child is growing up in a household, you know, you don't have to mingle with 22 other kids in order to develop social skills. So, I mean, in fact, you develop survival skills sometimes because you are not accepted. Why am I not accepted? It affects your self-esteem. You know, there's a lot goes into that. So no, social skills, they don't necessarily have to develop in a school setting. You can homeschool your child, and your child will have social skills. You don't have to send your kids to school to develop social skills.
And one thing I wanted to add that I learned from some of the parents that homeschool here, some of the homeschool parents, they are part of a group. They get together like some, you know, you may be good at English, but then there's other parent who's good at math. So they try to get a smaller group together, so develop social skills that way as well. So it's not an isolated environment. It's just a different technique, and it's great for a lot of parents that do that. It does, you may save your child from any negative impacts from the school or any structured environment that you have. But if that's important to you, I guess, as Anna is saying, don't hesitate, go for it.
Yes, absolutely. There's no right or wrong answer. And I am not here to tell a parent homeschool or don't homeschool. You know, if it's a value for you, you feel strongly about it, go for it. Maybe you can try and see if it doesn't work, you can switch. There's no harm in that, you know, at least you gave it a shot. But I think that's important to listen to your inner voice and inner guidance and trust in that.
So one other question from one of the parents is about physical punishment. One of the things that she's saying that what is an alternative? Because what if a child doesn't listen to anything other than physical punishment. If you tell them nicely, they're lying down on the floor, screaming and crying and kicking, and then you come with physical punishment, and that's the only time they listen. So how do you work towards that?
Well, this is a big topic. This is a big issue. It's, physical punishment is not necessary. Physical punishment is harmful. It affects children, not only physically, emotionally and psychologically. I mean, there is a lot of research that points to the harms of physical punishment. I've written a guide for parents. I would be happy to share with you. Maybe you can disseminate among your audience 15 reasons why spanking is wrong. It's a very practical, useful guide, and I can give it to you, the link.
That's great.
But the reason this parent is spanking, and it's not to put down the parents. If they knew better, if they could, they would do it differently. I mean, parents always want to do their best. It's not like, oh, you're spanking your kid, you're a bad parent, then that's it. No, we need to help that parent. We need to give proper resources, tools, education, knowledge, and skills, so this parent will learn the alternative. And there are alternative ways, in many ways. You don't need to be stuck in that mode. And that's our old programming, right? The way we were raised. And it could be cultural too. In certain cultures, it is still accepted. And unfortunately, it is still legal in many parts of the world, including US, to hit their children. Corporal punishment is still legal, unfortunately. We need to end that. But that's a whole different topic. But in terms of helping this parent, I think knowledge, education, learning some skills to elicit cooperation in the moment, how you can be even a playful parent. You don't have to yell and scream and resort to harsh punishment in order for your children to listen and cooperate. That breaks the bond between the parent and child. It hurts the relationship, and children are very, very sensitive. If the break in a relationship occurs, then children will not listen to that parent. From one hand, you are in a relationship with your parent as a child. You're supposed to love your parent, and your parent's supposed to love and protect you. And most of the time, parents do. But when they spank and use harsh techniques in the name of discipline, then a child is confused. Then a child is growing up learning, my mom or my dad's supposed to protect and love me, but sometimes he's harsh, and it's just not, it's disorienting for the child. And it creates fear and resentment towards the parent. And of course, a parent is strong, big. I can make my kid do anything I want with force and fear and inflicting pain and using a belt, or it's so easy, but we can work on ourselves. That's when a parent is using spanking or harsh punishments, that parent needs help. And there's so much stuff available now that parent can work on herself, on her own issues, the way she was brought up. Maybe she was spanked when she was little. She doesn't know any better. She wants to do better, but she's helpless in the moment. Mm-hmm. So we need to work with that parent very closely and give her not only information, knowledge, and skills and resources, and a whole lot of compassion and support. And the dynamic will change between parent and child, and children will respond and listen and cooperate. So yes, you don't have to use physical punishment to make children cooperate. Yes.
Okay. And I guess this also kind of goes back into being more emotionally aware. For me, I used to get angry, and, at times even now, mm-hmm. Kids, your child can push every button and you get angry. And one of the things I go back to myself saying, what is it that's making me angry? Is it, what is it that I want him to do? And why is it that I want him to do that so badly? Mm-hmm. And just doing that exercise. And it seems like, when in the heat of the moment, you may forget that exercise, but that's what it is. If you just do that exercise, why is it making you angry? Why do you want your child to do that so badly? Is it about power, or it's about, okay, he'll be late if he doesn't do that, or it's going to hurt somebody because if he doesn't do that? And as I started thinking those things, like my son wanted to play in the basement in the morning, time to go to school, I said, no, you cannot play in the basement. He started whining, and it was making me angry. And I said, listen, I am packing your lunch, I'm packing your school, everything, none of this will be ready if you keep arguing with me that you're playing in the basement. Finish. I basically laid down the rules, like, you finish your breakfast, everything is packed. If you have time, you can go. Otherwise, you cannot. And you know what? He understood. He was like, fine. And when it was time, he didn't have time to really do anything else. So
well, can I say something? You just used an expression that I think we need to switch the way we think about those things. You said, he makes me angry. That's it. It's flow thinking. No one makes us angry. We get angry. My husband doesn't make me angry. I get angry. My child triggers me, but he's not the source of my anger. My anger has a different source. We need to look at the source. I mean, this is a different topic, but
right. So in this
anger has a different source. This is what I help parents with, to go deep and learn about who they are. Why am I so rageful? Why is my son triggering me in this particular moment? We can work with those triggers and be free and liberate ourselves and be more prepared and show up better in our parenting. But no one is responsible for our anger. My son, my daughter, your husband, and the same goes to happiness.
So it's the event.
It's a flow thinking when you say, you make me so happy. No, I am happy. I take that happiness.
You have the power
within
yourself to affect your emotions. And
you need to look inwards for those things. Emotions are our inner working, our inner job. No one can make us angry.
I'm starting the recording. Okay. Okay, I am so sorry. We had some technical issue and the meeting seemed to have ended. I've started a new one, and I think we lost some of the participants, but we were talking about emotions, that you are saying that he makes me angry. Like I said, my son made me angry. The fact is, the situation is what was triggering the anger in me. I was, making myself, like it's how I dealt with that. And you're totally right. And again, like just knowing, one of the points over there was, I realized instead of me yelling or saying something to him, I handled it in a different way, where I, expressed what is happening to me and how that could have, what we can do instead. And it mitigated the situation, and there was no screaming war. He understood. And this is where it is. The kids are capable of understanding if you communicate appropriately. They do understand. You may have to repeat multiple times. With my 2-year-old, I have to, but it's amazing that even she understands and communicates, and I'm a role model. We are role models for them. And this is where the first step of emotional awareness starts. And the first step of emotional awareness, again, before you try to figure out what those feelings are inside, that Anna, you have with, we here at Lead with Good also work on emotional self-awareness classes for parents and children, where you pause at that moment to sort of understand, where is it? What are you feeling, and where is it you're feeling? Once you know that, you can dive into it, and you can, again, more detailed work. You work with an expert, dive into it. Why is it? And why is certain situation a trigger for you, and how to work with it? So thank you so much for that, Anna. I think, I know you have not been feeling well, and you're still here with us, and we really, really appreciate it. And I think this is great because participants have actually so far asked questions, and they are enjoying it, I can tell.
Okay.
I wanted to be mindful of the time and, focus on like One last question, and we can take more questions and maybe we can get back to all the parents later. But one last question that I wanted to ask you was about, studying. As the kids grow older, when they're younger, we sit with them and it's not maybe as intense, although in some cultures it's still intense. They focus on kids having to do homework and study because they want their kids to be smart. But one of our parents mentioned that how do I motivate my child? Her child is in middle school, just started middle school. How do I motivate my child to do her homework and study more independently? When I'm on top of her, managing her schedule, like this is your due, and reminding her, she does it. And she studies and she gets good grades, like she got 94 in her math test. But when I decided I'm going to let her be independent and let her do it on her own, she forgets. She does things last minute, and her last test, she got like 64. And I can't, it's very hard for me to just relax and let her have a bad grade or know that she can do better. So how do I help in that situation? Like how?
Oh, I have to be honest, motivation is an inside thing. If I'm not motivated, there's no way anybody from outside can motivate me unless they use force, again, fear, or different techniques to make me do the thing, right? But in this case, it seems like the answer is in the question, really. She says, if I'm on top of her, she's doing it. Well, she created this dependency maybe from the very young age. I don't know. I need to know more. And I'm not here to judge or criticize this parent, but if we constantly make it our job to tell them how to do, what to do, sit here, do this, do that, we create this dependency, and children fail sort of to develop their independent thinking, independent self-discipline, and all these good things that we want them to be self-motivated, self-sufficient. But when we look at our parenting, the very things that we do to help them to get there, that are the very thing that undermine those big goals that we have for them. It starts young by not undermining the child's autonomy, by engaging the child in the process, or by teaching children skills if they lack some skills. In terms of homework and studying, in this case, if she's in middle school, maybe the parent can just have this more collaborative approach and see where the child is perhaps struggling. Maybe there is too much of a homework at once to tackle. Maybe she has poor time management skills. Maybe they can come up with some kind of a plan. Maybe she can write down a list. Maybe she can do part of her homework, I don't know, after school, maybe part of her homework later. Maybe she's struggling with a particular subject. They can have help with that. But engaging the child in the process is important too. Just by saying, go do your homework, blah, 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 this is the time frame, you need to do it, is not the right approach. We need to see what's going on with that child. Maybe, yes, she's able to get 96 on a test. Why isn't she getting 96 on a consistent basis? Well, we're all human beings. Maybe that day something happened, right? I don't know, but if it's a pattern that when the mom is not there, the child is underperforming, that's a different issue. So there's two types of motivation. And there's intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation is when you are motivated from inside to do a particular task. I read because I enjoy reading and learning. But if you offer pizza or stickers or things for reading, encourage reading in your children every day, then you're switching that intrinsic motivation that your child had into external rewards, which erode that motivation. Then the child is looking to get a sticker to do the task, and they are limited, they underperform. If there is no reward, for example, for a task or homework or whatever it is, then the child will try his full potential. This is a big topic. We can talk for hours. It's one of my favorite topics, in fact, the rewards and motivation. But honestly, no one can motivate another human being. In this case, children need help with time management, with some skill building, with tackling the homework, and just maybe talking about how overwhelming it is to have so much homework, and empathizing with your child and saying, yeah, I see it's hard. But just being after your child and saying, you got to do it, it's not going to work.
I think it seems in this particular case, it sounds like it might be the time management skills, because the child, when the child is independent, it's all last minute, doesn't remember that was due. So it seems like
maybe help the child with that. Maybe come up with solutions that will help, create reminders in her phone. I don't know. There's so many ways now we can help our children to boost their skills with the help of technology too. In middle school, probably she uses.
So if you tell your child,
and the mom can be on her side.
Okay.
Yes.
If you tell your child that, listen, sometimes when you tell your child, like, you are not doing, you need to listen to this, you need to listen to that, and you need to listen to that, and you didn't do this properly, the child tends to feel that, oh, what is wrong with me? I can't seem to do anything right.
Yes, right? You want to believe in your child. Of course, that's the first thing. I mean, it's the same comes to human beings. It's the same comes to husband and wife relationship, right? If there is something you want your husband to do, how do you motivate your husband to do something he's not motivated to do? He doesn't like to mow the lawn. How do you motivate your husband to do it?
Right. So I think it's also, so for a parent, I guess one of the things to take back for us as parents is the communication. How you communicate the child makes them feel that they're not good enough. Maybe say like, all right, this is great. You did this, but I think you have potential to do better. Or maybe let's see how you, or maybe not those exact words. Maybe let's see how we can help you do, if we can help you do even better. Or maybe, it's kind of hard without.
Maybe simply asking, what do you need help with?
Okay.
What do you need help with, sweetheart? Even it's a 6th grader. She can communicate what she needs help with. I can see that you are leaving all the projects till the end. And, that must be uncomfortable for you. Do you feel rushed? How do you feel about it? What can we do to help you? Let's come up with ideas and brainstorm together. Work with your child, engage your child, and maybe she can say, yes, mom, I slept late last night because I had gymnastics practice, and piano is too much. I have too many extracurriculars, and it's a lot of pressure to perform and get 96, and stuff like that. Let the child talk about that stuff. It's overwhelming. Even parents will put a lot of pressure for children to perform. And schools also have a lot of pressure. You have to have the best, standardized tests and all that. So talk to the child, be on your child's side. Don't be an enemy. Don't be after her to finish and just show you results. Sit there, talk, and come up with an idea. And maybe that several ideas, you write them down. What will work, what will not. Maybe she will test different ideas and she will find eventually a workable solution that will satisfy her and the parent. But the child has to be an active participant in this.
Okay. So it's not just, now the question is not just for someone who's in middle school or 5th or 6th grade, but even for younger kids. You first watch the way you're communicating, try to make it positive and not negative. And if they feel, what's wrong with me? Why can I just not listen to my mom and dad? It's maybe you want to sit down with them and say, okay, this part was very important for me and you were not able to do it. How can we help you? How can I help you? Maybe it's not just related to homework. It could be that you just are not listening. You don't listen. Sometimes a child feels that, or you did something wrong, like a homework. You did a math problem wrong. The child feels like, oh God, I just don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do math. Instead of saying you did it wrong, you can say, no, it's okay. People get wrong every now and then. I get things wrong. As a kid, I also got things wrong. How can let's work on it. We need to practice. We need to exercise. Let's work on it together. How can I help you? You tell me. And come up with a plan, as you're suggesting, to help the child, to motivate. It will also motivate them to do it better, and they will feel that there is a secure feeling that mom and dad are there to help me no matter what.
Yes, if a parent believes in the child, if a parent is not the enemy, if the parent is on the child's side and has, is willing to listen, collaborate, empathize. When my child comes and says, I have a ton of homework, which is not the case, our school doesn't give too much homework. If she says, I hate this homework, I don't like it, a particular day, that doesn't mean she doesn't like homework or she's opposed to everything. That's a sign for me to attune to my child and listen and sit down and say, wow, gee, you must have had a hard day. Talk to me about this. You know what, maybe let's have a cup of tea together and chat, and then you can attend to your homework later, instead of saying, no, you got to do it, and be after the kid and say, don't you dare speak about school like that. Homework is important, blah, blah, blah. You want to be on your child's side. And once you listen, empathize, and give a little space, your child will say, okay, don't make a big deal out of homework. Many parents, you don't want to look under the microscope at the homework topic. And some days it's okay. If your child is not doing the homework, he or she will go to school and face the natural consequence.
That's okay. They need to learn.
They need to learn. They need to fail. They need to fail. They need to get their homework at home. So don't be so on top of the homework. It's the school and child relationship. I think it's that territory. So, I personally am not involved in my child's homework. I never log into parent portal. I never. I'm not interested in that. She's doing her homework or she's not doing. It's up to her. And most of the days she is doing it because I want her to be responsible. If that's an important thing for her, she can do it. If she needs help, I'm there to help. But if she says, I'm not going to do my homework, and she goes to school, then she knows that she's not going to have recess or whatever, and she's going to do the homework then. So she makes a decision in that moment. It's good to give children some autonomy in this area so they can practice their skills too. Making mistakes and failures, children learn about those things.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anna. When we talk about this, one of the other value that comes to my mind is having fun. It's important too. We kind of undervalue that, but having fun in life is very important. So that's a value that needs to be added.
Yes, definitely. Yes. In fact, that should be the top of the list for everyone.
Thank you so much, Anna. I think this was very great and very wonderful for our parents. Some of them have asked, can we have a recording? We'll be posting it.
Yes.
We'll be posting it on our Facebook group. One of the parents asked that anytime I tell my son something went wrong, even nicely, he still gets very upset. He's like, I'm bad, I don't know, or I cannot do this. Sometimes even starts crying. I try to explain him and he's fine afterwards, but not sure why he reacts like this.
Well, it's you don't have to know why he reacts that way. We don't have clue sometimes into how we react, right? We don't need to know the reason. All we need to do is be there for our children, empathize, listen to their feelings, and show emotional support. That's what's important. The reasons are not important. And it seems like she is there, she's supporting her son. That's all you can do. And maybe he needs I don't know. We need to know more about the situation, but the children need us to be there, shoulder to lean on, to cry, to vent. For us to accept their feelings is huge, right?
Yeah.
And they need to vent sometimes. Maybe he's a very sensitive person, a sensitive child. Compared to other people, he needs to cry and release himself from time to time, and that's okay. Yeah. Know your children, know their patterns.
Yeah, and you know what? This does remind me of my son a little bit. He is at times very sensitive, and he is like, this is. I'm like, well, this is wrong. Like, no, why is this wrong? And I'm like, it's okay, Shan. Sometimes you have things wrong. It's okay. Let's work together to make it right. Or I can help you. Do you need my help? But yes, there is a period where he does get upset and he has to go through that. And I just have to be there to help him. And I tell him, I'm wrong too sometimes. I am wrong too sometimes, and that's okay.
Well, we need to connect to the child's inner experience in the moment. What is my child going through? And be present and patient with that. We don't want to rush them through that emotion, whatever they're feeling in the moment. If a child is doubting himself, and every well-meaning parent wants to say, no, of course you are not scared, you can do it, and we want to be a cheerleader, we want to boost their spirits, but that's wrong actually, because you want to connect to the inner experience. If I am not confident or I am scared, connect to that. Hold my hand and say, it's okay, I'm right here. What are you feeling? You're feeling fearful of this? Oh, tell me more about it. I understand. Give a hug and just be there. Let the child feel that whatever they're feeling in that moment. Accept and be, provide that safety. By doing so, you're welcoming all the feelings instead of saying, no, you're not feeling that, or minimizing. You're saying, oh, come on, get over this, or I can fix it, or no, just be with that feeling and provide emotional safety, as I say, and things will be a lot better. And the child will not internalize, my feelings are bad, therefore I am bad. I'm not allowed to have negative feelings. We don't want to communicate that. Negative feelings are part of life too. Sadness and anger and all of these things. We want to communicate and normalize those emotions for our children by simply being and validating their inner experience. But it's hard for many of us because we're like, oh my gosh, is my child a sissy? He's crying all the time. No, there's nothing wrong with crying for boys, right?
That's okay.
That's okay. He's a normal human being.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. The parent is actually saying, Anna, thank you so much. Stay with that feeling, helps a lot. So thank you for your response. I think this was very good, very amazing. Thank you for your time. Again, you have not been feeling well and you still joined. We really appreciate it. For our parents, we'll be posting it on our Facebook group. So if you want to share it with someone, they will have, they can join the group and they can access this. We talked about emotions and feelings a lot. And I also want we have a special offer going on for our online classes and parents, exercises to be more in tune. What can you do to understand the emotions, feelings, and sensations? And kids who have done it, they have loved it. We have had some amazing testimonials. You can look at the website itself. Anna can work further one-on-one with the parents if they want to dive in even deeper. Anyone interested, please reach out to us and we will connect everyone.
And I will send you that, the guide that I mentioned, 15 reasons why spanking is wrong.
Okay. Thank you so much. We'll share it with our audience.
Yes, you can share that with people.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I hope you guys, took some useful information out of this.
A lot of useful information. All right. Well, I hope you get to rest.
Thank you.
And I hope you get better soon. So
thank you. Bye.